doing is we're going to do the furling mast now, and I'll sort of narrate as they go. So there's a main out button, and then there's also a secondary winch that controls the out haul. So what you do is you start by pushing the main out button, and you wait about 4 seconds. And what you'll see is you'll see this thing like it'll rotate a little bit. There it goes, little rotation. Then you help it with the out haul. And you want to keep some tension on it as you go with the out haul. And you're just forming a nice belly in the sail here. It's a lot easier once it gets going. You have the pressure of the wind pulling it out. And you hear the motor inside the mast. All right.
Furling out the Genoa involves 2 buttons also. The furl out button for the Genoa, and also the primary winch on whatever side you're tacking to take up on the Genoa sheet. So at this point we're unfurling slowly. There are 2 speeds. You can furl out fast or slow. We just prefer to go slow here. And then at the same time you can see that Genoa sheet, the blue line, tugging down on the clew of that sail as we unfurl, just to maintain some control.
So one of the things I wanted to address with the Hallberg Rassy 44 is the issue of boom prevention. But you could argue that you may not even need it. I have one, and what we did is constructed a dyneema soft shackle for the front of the boat, and that connects to the 2 cleats. If you try and just go to one cleat versus another, it just doesn't work. The angles are bad, and it goes all over the shroud, goes all over the lifelines. So if you look up ahead, I have a soft shackle, and then from that soft shackle I have a pulley, and that pulley leads to this line. This is the line on the windward side of the boat, and this is tensioning the preventer.
Here's a diagram of my preventer setup. The red line runs from the winch on the windward side through some low friction rings that are attached to the chain plate, just the base of the chain plate. That red preventer line then runs all the way to the bow, where I have a pulley set up attached to a large dyneema soft shackle that runs from cleat to cleat. And then through that pulley it runs back along the port side in this diagram to another low friction ring attached to the base of the chain plate. This red preventer line is then led aft and secured to the dyneema line that's permanently affixed to my boom. I simply tie a bowline between these 2 lines. What this setup does is that it enables me to switch from a port side jibe to a starboard side jibe without leaving the cockpit.
The preventer runs from that winch up to the front of the boat, where you see the soft shackle and the pulley combo, and then that blue and white line comes down to the preventer here. And this is a dyneema line that we have attached permanently to the bottom of the mast, and we just have it hooked on by that little piece of shock cord. And you can see down here I just tied a bowline, and this really is close to as far as you can put your boom because of these swept back spreaders. So you're never going to be on a dead run with this boat unless you have, and if you're close to that, you're just going to do it with the head sail alone. You're not going to be on a dead run with the main out. If you get any deeper than this, you're going to put the main away, and you're going to just run with the head sail, and you're still going to do 8 knots. You're going to do just fine with this hull shape. There they are. Check out the bow wave on this guy. He's riding low in the water. He's full of crude. I just was hearing a funny noise down here, so I went underneath the bed just to look. It's so elegant how this thing works. So this is from the steering wheel to this quadrant, but really it's being driven by this arm. That's the autopilot. It's driving. That's how quiet it is. It's so quiet. Most of the noise you're hearing is just the water underneath. It was a good idea, but we did something. Pulled out the gremlin here. It was his idea. Never a dull moment. The furling line was overridden by the spinning of the sail, and it got wrapped around the base of the sail, so Mark had to go out there on the pulpit and unwrap it manually. What are we doing? We're doing 5 knots in 10 knots of wind. Yeah, you see what we did. It's impossible to reach the end of this bowsprit.
As you can see, we ran the dyneema through the shackle at the end of the bowsprit and then secured it to the cleat. This enabled us to unfurl the sail, but it caused the overriding problems, and then it also wound up chafing through, and we lost the tack of this sail, and it was flying free and was very dangerous.
So, all right, and now the next. This was hard. I wouldn't even try doing this by myself or with Nicole. But boy, when it's up, it sure is sweet looking. Again, this is 10 knots of wind, and we're doing about 5 knots, so it's doing its job. These guys were already planning their flights out of here after the Bluewater runner fiasco. None of these trips would be possible without these guys. You need an experienced crew on a maiden voyage on a boat like this. I would not have been able to do this by myself. So we are doing 5.3 knots in 9 knots of wind. That's pretty damn good. Well, if any of you were watching and said, hey, that dyneema at the tack isn't a good idea because it might chafe, well, you were right. While we were just sitting, minding our own business, having a good chat, 12 knots of wind, Bluewater runner was doing its job. We were doing about 5.5 knots. All of a sudden the tack let loose and this thing went flying, and we fortunately ran up, grabbed a hold of it, and secured it to the code 0 point with a metal shackle, obviously not with this gizmo anymore, and we were able to get it furled back in and back on deck. So we were lucky there that we only had 12 knots of wind. Any more wind, it would have been a disaster. So I would not use dyneema to secure a Bluewater runner, or maybe anything else for that matter, to your bowsprit. All right, well, this is actually kind of a big deal. It doesn't seem like it, but this is Cape Gata, and this actually turns out to be our last turn on the way to Ibiza and then Palma. So we are on course for our final destination. That is Cape Gata, and we are enjoying some actually perfect hamburgers. Compliments of Harold here. Thank you.
Bon appetit.
Here's what mountains look like on the radar, and then there's 2 tugboats right, gosh, about a mile and a half ahead. Just surprised to see how uninhabited a lot of Spain is, and the areas that are inhabited are very quaint and pleasant looking. So here's what a thunderstorm looks like on radar. That's the storm right there next to us, with lots and lots of rain. You're not going to see it, but we also have two ships that we're splitting down the middle, and here's what they look like on radar. See the two ships at 11 and 1 o'clock. The orientation isn't correct. They're actually coming towards us. We're not seeing them side on. It just means it's a big old blob, and look how quickly that precipitation moved away from us. I'm sitting in a puddle, but it's not raining anymore. I'm not sure how many miles it's been since we did the first prime meridian crossing, but right now we're at 2,441 miles. Okay, so here we are, crossing the prime meridian, and it switches to east. There we go. Let's see what's changed. That looks the same. Let's go look outside. See what it looks like here at the prime meridian. Show you what this line looks like. There it is. The prime meridian right there.
Approach into Ibiza, going into this Botanics Cove, which is on the north side of the island. There's a big windstorm coming up from the south. We needed to seek shelter from, not for the wind, but because my berth in Palma doesn't start until Monday. Hey, here we are anchored right in the middle of Botanics. Nice tiny little cove with lots of boats seeking shelter today on the north side of the island. Very nice little place. After 2,500 miles and about 30 days of travel, arriving at our first anchorage was a joy like no other. But there was still work to be done. Wow. We got caught in some sort of a Saharan dust storm or something. When you're back to the wind, oh my gosh, the dirt that's coming off of here is unbelievable. Yeah, 2,500 miles. I think Breezy deserves a little bath. Final destination. Palma, Mallorca. We got this guy coming up our backside, and over here's the cathedral. Our marina is right in front of that cathedral. We made it to Marina del Mar, which is right down the road from the marina that we're staying at, the Real Nautico Marina, and we're at the fuel dock, so we just need to fuel this puppy up. It's just backed in here. We got our stern lines complete. Now these guys are grabbing the slime line, so I'm keeping just some forward, and that's keeping us even, and I'm keeping us straight with bow thruster. Well, we made it. We are successfully moored. We've got a loner passerelle right there. We've got our slime lines attached. I'll show you those. They are nasty buggers. They start off thin and then they get really, really thick. But that's them. Super, super slimy. That looks like it's got something living on it. But they go down to the seabed there and hold us off the dock. And I was able to reverse on those things and not hit the dock, so I think we'll be okay. And we got all our hatches open, just airing everything out because, you know, water tends to get in these places and we don't want it to get moldy. This one was wet, this is not so wet. So, next step after mooring
is the mooring beer, and Mark was kind enough to get us some San Miguel. Ah, thank you, sir. Yes, and we'll enjoy this mooring beer on this beautiful, hot, humid day in Palma, Mallorca. I must say it's amazing to have arrived after this month. Enough for everybody?
Yeah, can each.
All right, perfect. All right, crack it open, guys.
Cheers.
Cheers, yeah. Let's get this done right. Cheers.
All right,
Cheers.
cheers.
All right.
Oh, superb.
Superb.
Awesome
Superb.
trip.
Superb trip, guys.
Oh my gosh, that was amazing. To embark on a trip of this magnitude, taking 3 months off from work, having everything arranged, meals prepped, assistance from professional delivery skippers and friends, it really isn't possible without help, and there's just so many moving parts. But I'm just thankful for all the people that helped get me safely from Sweden all the way down to Palma, and looking forward to all the adventures that follow. The big one being is that Nicole is going to be joining me in a couple days, and the kids soon thereafter. So more adventures to come. Stay tuned.